and players mobbing.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jayson Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm your host, Sherrod Blake, with Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. We are down one today with Kwani Luna. She's getting, let's just call it load management. Load management day for Kwani Luna. She will be back.
No, she ain't playing no 82.
Nah, she on that. Hey, look, you know her twin from another mother, Kawhi Leonard, since he's back to playing. I guess she's her time to do the load management thing. I see what they're doing.
She needs rest, so we'll see her next week.
Absolutely. Just for those listening, this episode of the Big Three NBA podcast is brought to you by Indeed.com, HelloFresh, and FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Sign up now at FanDuel.com/Boston, and new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 line bet. We're just going to jump right into the action, and man, was there action with the Celtics lately. Let's just jump right into that Indiana game. Celtics lost 133-131. No Jayson Tatum, who was on I guess they described it as ankle management. That left ankle's a little sore. There was no Sam Hauser, who has a shoulder injury that he's dealing with. But their absences, big story. The bigger story was how the game ended. Controversial call in the last 4 or 3 seconds, something like that, last 10 seconds of the game, where Jaylen Brown pulled up for a contested baseline jumper, and was originally the foul. The original call was that he was fouled. And then they went to replay, and then the call was overturned. But what made it so controversial was that Jaylen claimed that he got hit in the back of the head. And the replay angles that I saw show there was some contact. It wasn't a lot, but it appeared to be that there was some contact with the back of his head. But the officials overturned the call anyway. Gary Washburn, you've seen that replay probably as many times as I have. What was your take on the overturning of that call, and were you surprised that happened?
I thought it was a terrible call. I thought that it was just all around mishandled. One, there was contact, there was a foul. Two, they awarded the ball to Indiana because when the foul was called, the whistle blew, Neesmith caught the ball, so they called that a rebound. And so they awarded the ball. Instead of saying, listen, everybody stopped when the whistle blew, they basically awarded the ball to Indiana. And so it turned out double jeopardy for the Celtics. You lose, you lose not only the non-foul, they award the ball to Indiana. So it's sort of like a defensive stop and a steal. Like I've never seen where you basically call that, like you call it basically a turnover. I mean, they called it a missed shot. Well, if there was no foul, the ball went into Neesmith's hands, so that's a rebound, even though the players, I think Porzingis, had stopped when the whistle blew. So you essentially give the ball to Indiana and you take away free throws. So it was a bad call. It was a misjustice in terms, like, the staff was over its head in that situation. And you had a pretty veteran staff. These weren't youngsters. We know some of the new officials, and we know some of the people that you're like, okay, this could be a long night for them. They're having trouble. We know some of the novice officials, and we know those, and we see them, but this was a veteran crew that just botched this call, and it cost the Celtics the game. Now, it didn't only thing that cost the Celtics the game. Porzingis doesn't need to be so aggressive on, if Mathurin hits a fadeaway step back three over a 7'3" player to win the game, tip your cap and walk off the court. But Porzingis contests it, makes contact. That was not the smartest move on Porzingis' part. Just stand up there and do that. Contest. If he steps back, rises up, and swishes it in the face of a 7'3", they deserve to win the game. But I thought that it was a terrible call. Jaylen, you could see it. How you not see when we could see it at home that Jaylen got hit in the back of the head. It was a foul. Buddy Hield admitted that he made contact with the back of Jaylen's head. So to me, it was bad. But, and the Celtics should have walked out there and stole a win. But, we could talk about the game itself. You can't lose to Indiana without Haliburton. That third quarter I thought was right. Terrible. The Celtics were just like they came out in the third quarter lazy again, and it cost them the game. You can't give up a 44-point third quarter. That's just unacceptable. They have to be better in the third quarter. They have to have more focus. And you have to understand that those guys were going to play better or above their heads without Haliburton because it was a rallying cry, right? To me, that was the dangerous part. Then you let TJ McConnell, just kind of make big plays, offensive rebounds, layups at the rim. That's what he does. You cannot allow that to happen. You cannot allow TJ McConnell to set the tone of the game. A lazy inbounds pass by Jaylen for a steal, for a turnover, like things like that. Like the Celtics had a chance to pull away in the third quarter, and to me, botched it. Now here's the third quarter. 15 for 22, 68.2%, 4 for 7 from 3. The Celtics sent Indiana to the free throw line 10 times, 10 for 10. Like, that's just unacceptable. You can't have that happen. Yeah. The Celtics shot themselves 57% in the third quarter, 4 for 8 from 3. But, 6 turnovers, that's too much for a quarter, 3 by Jaylen. But when you allow 44 points by a non-Haliburton Pacers, that's a problem. That's a problem. And it was all depth. Like, if you look at that quarter.
They had 9 guys that scored in that quarter.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. TJ McConnell, 8. Neesmith, 7. Like, they just hit them with all types of their weapons, their depth. And you can't have that happen. And you got to be better than that. And the focus has to be there. And I don't know if that's Joe's fault or, because you just got into a shootout. And I said, if you up by 9 at halftime, if you hit some couple of buckets, go by 13-15, then you're in Indiana's head. Then I don't think they just give up, but I think that you've got full control of the game.
Yeah.
But then again, you start slow. And I said, 8 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds from McConnell in that quarter. It's just you just can't have that happen. And to me, that was where the game was lost. But the officials botched the call completely. It's embarrassing to have that situation like that. We'll see what the 2-minute report comes out, and I'm sure Joe is very much looking forward to that. But for me, bad call, and then to give the ball to Indiana. And then, I said before, Porzingis, just contest. Don't lean. Don't try to get the block shot. Just contest to where they don't have an excuse to call the foul. And he made contact. He might have gotten a piece of the ball, but he also hit the arm, and that's where the game was lost.
The NFL season is wrapping up, and there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, the app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Yeah, again, the one thing that when I was watching the game and then I look back on it, that the Celtics have to remind themselves of is control what you can control. You can't control bad calls. You can't control refs getting things wrong because you know it's going to happen. They're human. That's what humans do. But you can control your efforts and your actions. And I thought, as you pointed out, Gary, the third quarter, they just didn't have that focus or that fire, that fight to just bury a team that at that point was kind of on the ropes. Your best player is gone for the game. you are, slowly but surely sinking. The Celtics have good momentum, and the Celtics just let them off the hook. They let them get comfortable. They let them play their style. And that was the other thing, too, that jumped out to me. There were too many stretches in this game where the Celtics were playing at the Pacers' pace and not their own, where they were looking to score quicker than they need to, where they weren't running through their offense. And I know Jaylen had an amazing game offensively with 40 points. But the one thing that we've seen like the last couple of weeks is that the Celtics, when they're at their best in close games, usually there's some combination of Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis leading the way. When you start looking at the seasonal crunch numbers or clutch numbers, and you start breaking it down even further, it's like the last 5, 10, 15 game segments, you'll see that Derek White and Kristaps Porzingis are in the top 5, top 10 in almost all of those analytic breakdowns. And the eye test tells you that those guys are balling in the latter stages of games and are a big part of why the Celtics, when they've had a close game here and there, they've been able to get over the hump. Tatum may go for 12 or 14 points in the fourth quarter, but you watch the game, you'll see it's Derek White making the hockey assist, for that basket, or it's Porzingis getting the tip in, or Porzingis, running high pick and roll, running to the rim and catching a lob from someone. They need to recognize who their best players are in certain moments in the game. And I thought without Jayson Tatum out there, they seem to kind of lose their way a little bit because Derek White did not have a good game shooting the ball. And I want to be absolutely clear. Down the stretch, I'm really not looking for him, particularly in that game, to be a shooter, but I am looking for him to be a playmaker. And when I look at his numbers throughout the course of the season and his numbers in that Pacers game, he had 6 assists with like 1 turnover. So it wasn't as if his facilitating part of the game was off track or anything like that. I would love to have seen him and Jaylen Brown in some end of the game action where they were basically forcing Indiana's defense to pick their poison, either play Derek a little closer than they want to or look for Jaylen. And the other thing, too, and we talked about this on the Guardian report after the game, before Jaylen pulled up for the controversial shot, there's a screenshot that has Derek White at the top of the key begging for the ball. To his left, I believe, is Porzingis, and on the corner, I believe, is Al. But basically, if Jaylen swings that ball top of the key to Derek, 3 options. You're either going to get a wide open shot from Derek pass to will be probably a wide open Porzingis, who then may pass to a potentially wide. But there were 3 potential wide open shots versus the contested multiple defenders in your mug shot that Jaylen took. And again, that doesn't completely take away from what was a very well played game, but it is a reminder of how down the stretch, just because you've had a good game for 3+ quarters, doesn't mean you have to be the one to deliver the kill shot. Jaylen would have been so much better suited to pass it. And I get it that Jaylen, that's not who he is. He's never going to be a great passer because he's not built to be that. Just like there's certain players who are never going to be great scorers, but they are great facilitators. Like Derek White is a good scorer. I'm never going to expect him to be a 25, 28 point per game scorer. He's not built to do that. But understanding the roles that you're supposed to play and the moments you're supposed to play them. And I thought down the stretch, Jaylen, he tried to do a little too much. It would have been much better served to swing it to an wide open teammate who then would have made the decision whether to get it back to him or find someone else. But the whole issue also shines a light on something. And I hate talking about officiating because I'm always uncomfortable talking about it because it always feels like a cop-out when you focus too much on officiating, particularly when a team is losing. But because of the nature of this game, folks did a little bit of, what I call hood research on the official, James Williams, and they came up with some very low-hanging fruit that only feeds the whole conspiracy theorists in people. He attended high school in Indiana, and he graduated from Purdue University. And those facts were brought front and center right away. And when you make a call this controversial and questionable, and you've got that as part, those are facts. That's just not like hyperbole. You went to that high school in Indiana. You graduated from Purdue. How do you? And again, I've been in this a long time, and so have you, Gary. But how do you take that type of information in light of what happened? How do you view the fact that he's from Indiana, he went to college in Indiana, and he just made an incredibly egregious call that favored the Indiana Pacers?
I don't know. I don't want to say the fix was in. I'm not going to say that strongly. I just think the crew wasn't great, just not a good crew. And when these are guys we know, James Williams, Michael Smith, and Derek Richardson, 3 veteran officials, quality officials. That blew 2 calls to me, awarding the ball. Now, that was the replay center also, but to say that Hield did not hit Jaylen in the head is just inaccurate, and you can see it on the damn video.
You see when his hand goes across the back, you can see his head move as
he hit on the back of his head.
Yeah.
He got hit in the cornrows. Like, it's the same thing. But, Sherrod, I'm also going to blame the Celtic defense. Indiana shot 53%, 48 from 3. Too many easy looks, not contested looks. Like Benedict McThurin, he's a scorer, but Obi Toppin with 3 threes. Guys who are just, the McConnell minutes. Neesmith with 17, and then 9 missed free throws for the Celtics, 3 from O'Shea Brissett. And, and I know we both like O'Shea, but if you're going to stay on the floor, O'Shea, you got to hit your free throws. Because look at his night, 1 for 4. Okay, but 6.6 rebounds, 2 steals. So and he's a +5, but he missed 3 free throws. See, Svi Mihalik, he missed 2 free throws. Like, if you're going to get into the game and you're going to earn minutes, you can't miss scoring chances. Right. Joe's an analytic guy. And as we know, even in our public school math, 2 points is better than 1 point.
Facts.
I think we would all agree on that. So when you get a possession and Svi Mihalik is fouled or O'Shea, and they split 2, Indiana will take that.
Yeah.
So you lost the game by 2 points. You missed 9 free throws. I'm gonna give Jaylen a pass. He missed 2. Porzingis missed 1, but 5 combined missed free throws. If you want to add Luke missing 1, 6 for 3 bench guys. Those are critical points.
Right.
And if you're gonna earn these minutes, and if O'Shea is gonna be that wing that Brad Stevens was referring to, he's got to be more efficient.
Yeah.
He missed 3 threes. Okay, he's not really a 3-point shooter. He can hit 1 occasionally. But for me, 3 out of 6 from the free throw line, you can't be proud of that. You got to finish that up. And Svi played 5 minutes, was aggressive, so he got to the free throw line 4 times in 5 minutes, and he missed 2 of them. And I'm not blaming those guys for the loss, but when you come to these games, you lose by 2 points, it's the little things.
Yeah.
The tiny things, the stretches, not getting offensive rebound, things like that. But the Celtics, fine. They out-rebounded Indiana. They had two more turnovers, 15 turnovers, Jaylen had 5. Jaylen has still got to keep control of his handle. I think he's starting to get better with that. But, he still loses the ball at times. Drew Holiday had 3, although he had a season-high 21 points. But to me, those 2 bad calls, the defense, and then 9 missed free throws. That's why you lose these games.
Yeah.
And they're 28-8. I'm not going you ain't going to see the best record in the league, had a chance to beat Indiana without Tatum and without Hauser, although they didn't have Haliburton, but it would have been a nice win to get heading into this stretch, right? And also a nice win to prove that you can play productively without Tatum. And I think they proved that. I said 52% from the field, 48%, like identical stats for the game, except for they missed 4 free throws and the Celtics missed 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. And I mean, and Jaylen with 40 points on an efficient, I think it was 17 for 26. The 5th Celtic to have 10 or more 40-point games in his career. I think he's 5th on the all-time list in that regard. But Jaylen, he had some interesting post-game comments. Specifically, one I wanted to lock on was where he said that this should be investigated, whatever that means. I don't know whether he was speaking just from the final 2-minute report is what he was referring to, whether he thought there'd be something grander than that, which I don't think will happen. But what do you anticipate, if anything, will be the fallout from that questionable / controversial / bad call?
Nothing. It'll just be the 2-minute report. We'll probably say he got fouled. It'll be interesting to see what it says.
Yeah,
that was some Chuck D stuff. Shout out to Chuck D. That was some Chuck. Here it is. He's calling for the revolution.
I respect that. I respect that about Jaylen.
So yeah, I mean, I think Jaylen was upset, and he had every right to be, and it did cost him the game. Now, you could, I'll say that there's other things that could have won him the game earlier, but it's a bad call. It's just straight up bad call. Just a terrible call. You stick with your convictions. You call the foul, then you go back, and then you give the ball to the Pacers. Right. Like, to me, the Pacers are like, okay, jump ball. Oh, we get the ball?
Right, exactly.
What?
Yeah.
We get the ball?
Yeah. They were thinking best case scenario would have been a jump ball.
Word up. Like, I'm sure they were like ecstatic. Yeah. And they didn't have any timeouts. Like, if they lose that challenge, okay, they're out of timeout. So if Jaylen hits one free throw, they got to go length of the court in 3.2 seconds and try to score, right? So it put them in we're about to lose this game to we can win this game and then the foul on Mathurin. So I just think it just can't be that drastic. Mm-hmm. Even if you made the call and said jump ball at the center court, okay, then you go to overtime. Let them settle it in overtime. But to sit there and hand the ball to Indiana and go, now you have a chance to win. And that wasn't a foul. And because Nesmith caught the shot ball well after the whistle sounded and in the air, that we'll say that was going to be a rebound. So we'll give the ball to Indiana.
Yeah.
Then they had the timeout from the challenge, so they took it at midcourt, and we saw what happened. Yeah. And I'm not saying it was the smartest move by Porzingis, and I think you just sit there and do that. But it all was set up with those bad calls.
Yeah.
So, and let's be honest, man, like in this league, the officiating has to get better. It has to get better. There's just too many of these mystery calls and strange, and it just has to get better. A guy missing a layup, and then 2 seconds later, there's a foul call because the official wanted to see if he was going to make the shot. And if he made the shot, he wasn't going to call a foul. Like, right. It's just, I mean, officials got to be better too. They blaming the players and load management. We all need to be better. And the officials need to be better. And that was a really, really poor call.
Exactly. And you were laughing about my New Year's resolution to be better. Look at you.
Yeah, I was laughing at that.
Look at you.
Whether your resolution is to save money, eat better, or stress less, HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, is here to help you do all three. Say hello to your most delicious year yet with fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes at a price you'll like, delivered right to your door. Each HelloFresh box is packed with farm-fresh ingredients, and everything arrives pre-portioned right to your doorstep for less hassle and less wasted food. Don't let recipe boredom strike, because HelloFresh has more options than ever before. Dig into their biggest menu yet with over 45 dinner options to choose from weekly, and even more market add-on items that suit any and every lifestyle. For me, I'm a big fan of the pork sausage rigatoni rosa and the Gouda burgers, which take about 20 to 30 minutes to cook, which is not a lot of time for a really, really good meal. And in order to get in on America's #1 meal kit, go to HelloFresh.com/Big3Free and use the code Big3Free, and that's BIGTHREE free for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/Big3Free with the code Big3Free, and that's BIGTHREE free.
So, anyway, speaking of being better, let's talk Jayson Tatum. Obviously missed the last game with the the ankle management deal. It's only the third game he's missed this season. He's never missed more than 8 games in a given season since he's been in NBA. He's one of the more durable superstars out there. Load management is not something he is a fan of, as he's expressed to us multiple times. But what is your level of concern with him in this ankle injury? I mean, do you think it's just not a big deal, or is it something that we need to be mindful of? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if Jayson could have played very much, but I think the Celtics looked at their stretch coming up and said, okay, this is our schedule here. We have Minnesota, Milwaukee back-to-back, then Houston, then Toronto, like 4 games in 6 nights. What game are we going to give Jayson a break? Because we got to give him a day off here. And I think basically they said, we'll choose Indiana. We'll choose Indiana because it's a second. We already took the first one. We like our chances, and they had a chance to win. We don't want to rest them at home against Minnesota. It's a big game. You're not going to rest them against Milwaukee, and he ain't going to not want to play against Ime in Houston. So when are you going to give him a break? And to me, I think you give him a break against this game in Indiana, and there's a game next Wednesday, home to San Antonio. You might give him a break there because the Denver Nuggets are coming in on that Friday. Then you go on a 3-game road trip: Houston, Dallas, Miami. So I think this was strategically planned. Just give him a break. I don't think his ankle is completely healthy. Remember, he sprained it in Golden State. Then he got fouled a couple times in LA on threes and got stepped on. So I think his ankle was probably a little bit tender. But I think if this is a playoff game, we all know Jayson would have been in there and probably scoring 35, 40 points.
Yeah.
However, I do think it's a smart move. You know what? Did it cost an L? Barely. It wasn't like they got blown out. And, but the players, they got to go on without him. And let's be honest, Sherrod, like the Pacers didn't have Haliburton for the whole second half. So you got to figure it out.
Right. Absolutely. And the other missing person for them health-wise was Sam Hauser, who has been, arguably one of, if not their most consistent reserve this season. He's filled in in that starting lineup when guys are out. But I'm not so concerned about just when he's coming back and that kind of stuff, but more to the point of something that Brad Stevens alluded to, and you touched on a little bit earlier about just the Celtics coming up on a trade deadline, maybe looking at, buyout market, but certainly keeping their eyes open and ears peeled to add talent if it makes sense for them. But it appears just looking at this team that they're either looking at a wing, which Brad Stevens kind of alluded to that they're looking at, or they might be looking to add a big. Which do you think is the greater need for them in terms of bolstering that bench?
I'm going to say the wing, a scorer, a shooter, someone to get you easy buckets. I mean, you know what? If you keep Luke, I think Luke does okay. Here's my thing. You know what? If Isaiah Jackson, like Luke, you got to get tough, man. Isaiah Jackson wanted a piece and Luke ignored him. Like, no, man. Like, Luke, don't perpetuate the stereotype that you're soft or that you're a Vanderbilt kid. Go up there. What? Did you say something? Like, it's an NBA. Y'all ain't throwing no hands. Okay?
No.
You're not throwing no hands. Like, to me, stand up for yourself. Now, he kind of tried to ignore it and did his high fives and all that, which is cool. But no, man, that dude threw you down.
Yep.
I would have been like, do that again. And so, obviously, they're starting to choose Kornet over Queta. Although we all like Queta, I like Queta. I don't know why Joe is just playing Kornet all these minutes. And suddenly Queta's now sitting. I don't know what's going on there because Queta was playing well and played well on the West Coast trip. But if you're going to do that and you're going to, keep Queta and you got Cornette, then you go after that wing. Because I don't know if O'Shea is that guy. I think they need a bucket getter.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. I'd go up to Sadiq Bey.
Yeah.
He makes the salary in the Grant TPE. Okay. Atlanta is probably going to blow this thing up. And now you might have to give one of those couple second-round picks. I don't know what
if
they
it costs us a couple second-round picks to get Sadiq Bey, you cut that check.
Yes. Because that dude can shoot and he's a dog. We know he's a Philly dude. He's a Villanova guy. He's a dog. You put him in a winning situation, he's going to flourish. Okay?
I'd be curious to see if he's on the floor and Isaiah Jackson does that to Luke, what's he going to do? Something tells me that Sadiq ain't just going to be like, oh, okay. Something tells me Sadiq might have some words or he would at least do some type of physical something, show some type of reaction to that. And again, it goes back to Garrett, something that we've kind of talked about, and I know it's been out there, is how tough is this Celtics team? They are talented. No one questions the talent on this team. But there are legitimate questions about how tough they are. In moments like that, brings those questions to the forefront. Because a team like Indiana, they know that they can't beat the Celtics head-to-head talent. They know that's just not going to work. You have to figure out ways to manufacture success against a team that on paper is better than you. And that's where
I don't like when Cornette backs down to Isaiah Jackson. I didn't like that.
Right.
Like, Cornette, you 7 feet, man. Defend yourself. I'm not talking about punch him, but just go push him back.
Right.
Now,
and
you know,
get hit with the double text and then let him know
exactly.
That
like you let him know you ain't for that life. That's not you.
Right.
So I wasn't crazy about that. And I know, Luke, I just want to play basketball. Like, this is a game that you said they might try to be physical, intimidate you. So for me, you got to have a dog out there. Marcus was a dog. Grant was the dog, right? Is it O'Shea? O'Shea can be a dog. Lamar Stevens is definitely a dog. He just don't play.
He just don't play.
And then, Jaylen can be a dog, but he's your best player. You need a dude out there as an enforcer. You need a guy to be like, no, you ain't doing that again. Like, what was that? You gonna push him down because you mad that I'm getting offensive rebounds over you or whatever? And and Luke just starts high-fiving like, yeah, like I'm not even acknowledging that. No, there's some things you got to acknowledge. And so to me, I don't think that they're a soft team. But I think they could get, and this has been like this for years, right?
Even when Marcus was here, this was an issue.
Marcus and Jay were the dogs, and even Isaiah was a dog. Right. Okay, Isaiah was a 5'9" Rottweiler, man.
Love that.
That dude was a dog. Okay, Jay was a dog, and Marcus Morris was a dog.
Yes.
When he went to Embiid and did 3-0. When they was talking mess in the playoff series, and he 3-0, 3-0,
and don't forget about the two-hand push of Ben Simmons right in front of the referee, and no call.
Yes. So those days are gone. Okay, I don't think you have that, but I do think you have to get tougher. I do think someone has to walk up, but if he's pushing a smaller player, someone big walks up. Luke's got to defend himself.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that was an intimidation ploy out of Isaiah Jackson. Mm-hmm. And he pushed him to the floor. So I don't know. Or Mathurin had a flagrant foul. So sometimes you got to go at a dude and be like, no, don't do that again.
Right.
Don't do that again.
Absolutely. And just kind of, again, moving on, let's talk about the NBA as a whole and some of the big stories out there. Biggest story I think out there is Ja Morant, the shoulder injury. He's out for the season. That's a devastating blow to a team that seemed to be kind of turning it around upon his return to the lineup. Just your thoughts on him and being out for the rest of the year, and what does that mean to the Grizzlies going forward?
The draft lottery.
He was trying to be politically correct. I see what you're doing.
Get that suite ready in Secaucus for the draft lottery at the Secaucus JW in Secaucus or Brooklyn, wherever they do the ping pong balls, because it's just why now, like, I still think they can compete for a play-in, but that's just a lot, man. Like, Steven Adams out. Brandon Clark still hasn't returned from the Achilles. Now Ja Morant. Marcus just got back from a foot injury. Like, I think they'll continue to play hard, and they played 25 games without Ja, but they were bad in those 25 games, right? I think, what were they, like 8-17 or
7-21 or something like that?
Something like 6-19, whatever they were, right?
Yeah.
They were bad. And so now I just think if you're Memphis, you just have to reboot, and look forward to next year. Now, if you to me, do they need another young player? I would say yes. I would probably think it would be nice for Memphis to add, because remember, Memphis is not a free agent destination, so you're not going to go out there and sign somebody to the max. Like, you got to keep your players and cultivate them. And so you did that with Ja Morant, you did that with Desmond Bane, you did that with Jaren Jackson Jr., right? You're doing it with a guy like Saldi Adama. You're doing that with Brandon Clark. You acquired Steven Adams. This guy Vince Williams has become a quality defender. So your way of contributing flourishing is to cultivate your young players.
Right.
And so, to me, I think if you're Memphis, I think you take the bullet on this season. No offense to Ja and the guns and the bullet, but take the bullet,
Gary.
Take the bullet on this season, and not talking about tank, but play it out. But just know, if let's try to get a top 5 pick. Let's try to get another franchise caliber player under our control for many years that can play with Ja, that can play with Marcus, that can play with Desmond Bane, because you signed Desmond Bane a $200 million contract. So, you got your foundation. And Jaren Jackson Jr., you got your foundation there. Now, play hard, do what you got, but understand that you don't have a team that's going to get out the first round. And so, to me, you got to prepare for the future. Get Ja's. Obviously, to me, is this a injury that probably Ja could have probably come back, because it's January. But they probably said, listen, he ain't coming back till late March. 2 to 3 months. Okay, because now it's funny, it's January 9th, 10th, whatever we are.
Mm-hmm.
January 9th. The playoffs start in 3 months. Right. 3 months in a week, right? So I'm sure they probably said, listen, Ja's going to be out till late March. Why are we bringing him back for the final 2 of the regular season, rushing him back? Just have him shut it down. He'll be back for training camp in September. He'll be fine, along with Steven Adams. So if I'm Memphis, I just prepare for next season. Get another lottery pick, because you're not signing free agents. You've got to bring in players that you can control for many years. Make a good draft pick. That's why you can't miss in the draft. And Memphis really hasn't missed in the draft. Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., they drafted Brandon Clark.
Yeah.
They scored with Morant. Remember, they were number 2 pick. They could have, it was a chance they could have gotten Zion Williamson if he had fell to him. So I think they made out pretty well, despite his troubles. They've made it out okay. So with Ja Morant, so build around him, build around Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and your other guys, and then just prepare for next year.
Yeah, and for those who are thinking, well, maybe they'll just part ways with Marcus Smart. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Marcus got 2 more years on his deal after this year, worth about $40 million. I don't see anyone being willing to necessarily take that on, or specifically give Memphis the kind of assets that they would want in return for him. I think there would be teams that would have interest in Marcus, but not willing to give up what I think would make Memphis open to that idea. Because to your point, Gary, it doesn't make a lot of sense to try to jerry-rig this roster together to try to get your ass bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a lot of sense. Last one on the NBA, and then we'll jump back to the Celtics looking ahead. But Draymond is officially no longer among the suspended, working his way physically to get back in shape. Now, Gary, you've been doing this a minute. The Draymond that we see when he returns to the court, will that be a more gentler kind of Draymond, or will he at some point revert back to doing some of the things that got him in trouble in the first place?
I think he'll unquestionably get in to faces. I don't think the altercations will happen anymore. I think he understands that this is his last shot. And anything that he raises his hands, anything he kicking, anything that he putting somebody in a head LAPD chokehold, those are you know,
he might get banned for the league.
Yeah, like you're going to probably miss the rest of the season, right?
Yeah.
So I think he'll get in the faces. I think he'll be an instigator, but I don't think he'll be throwing hands. And I think that he understands how important he is because, in all honesty, Sherrod, this is probably the Warriors' last run, right? This is their final tour, right? This is their last concert series. This is their
just like the Jackson Victory Tour. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it was like the Victory Tour. Exactly. The youngsters looked that up. One of the biggest tours of all time, the Victory Tour. It's the Victory Tour. This is it for us. As we are constructed, everybody ain't going to be back next year, even though Draymond's signed 3 more years, $75 million, which is insane, but it's true.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. But this team has got to make one final run. The West, to me, is open. Like, Minnesota's a good club. Denver, a good team. The Clippers are playing well, but there's no, oh my God, this team is just a juggernaut. No. Even the Timberwolves, right?
Right.
The Nuggets are starting to play better. But the Thunder are not to be messed with either. We saw the Thunder a couple weeks ago beat Boston. Or last week. So the West is there to at least make a splash, right? So I think Draymond has his best behavior for a while. We'll see how it is in April and late March when these games wear on and he gets comfortable and he stops being the storyline. Because I think the Warriors are telling Draymond, just quit making the headlines, man. Like, just play ball. Play ball. However, whatever player you are, play ball. Like, we don't need you to make headlines. We don't need this. We don't need the league calling us. We don't need Joe Dumars on the phone. Your friend, Joe Dumars. We don't need Joe.
Man.
We don't need Joe on the phone.
No, not for this. Not for this. Yeah, I mean, it's real simple. Just Draymond, stick to hooping and stay away from headlines and headlocks. Okay? That's simple.
Wow.
That's all you got to do. Stay away from headlines and headlocks and just you're good. So, but you did mention a team that we should be talking about, and actually they're part of this week's lineup of opponents for the Celtics, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They Celtics play them on Wednesday, Milwaukee the following night, Thursday, and then Houston on Saturday. What do you expect in this trilogy of opponents that the Celtics are playing? What do you expect to see?
Big challenges. Minnesota, now the good thing for the Celtics, Minnesota plays at Orlando tonight. That is not a fun back-to-back. Cleveland did that same back-to-back. I don't know why the league is saying Orlando Boston is a good back-to-back, and you could be able to be fine with that back-to-back. But they're gonna be a little bit tired. The Celtics should be a little bit rested after a day off. Healthy Jayson Tatum back in the lineup. We'll see about Sam Hauser. But you got to take those guys seriously. I think the Celtics will. Ant-Man, Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Kyle Anderson, a lot of quality players. Our friend Karl Anthony Towns. So very staunch opponent. The next night, Milwaukee, the Bucks are not playing well. The same Utah Jazz, the Celtics led by 36 in the first half, led Milwaukee by 30 in the first half at Milwaukee. And I looked at that box score and I'm like, wait a minute. This got to be one of those nights that Giannis and Lillard are off. Like they probably said, you know what? We're just resting. We got to rest the fools was playing. Middleton, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I just thought, is this one of those games like, Jackson from UConn's playing and Pat Connaughton's in the starting lineup and, Cameron Raw Dog Payne, not Martin Raw, I got a tribute to Martin Raw Dog Payne. Look that up, kids. Cameron Payne is starting. I was like, no way there can be no Giannis in this game. No, they were down, I think, 60-31 in the first half. They were getting booed by the Jazz. We just saw the Jazz, and the Jazz looked terrible, but they wouldn't beat Philadelphia and Milwaukee, right? Yep. So the Celtics got the best of them. I mean, that's crazy. So I think the Celtics going to have to make a point in this game. Like, no, we the better team. And then Houston, oh boy, our friend is back, Ime Udoka.
That's going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting, his reception and his, pregame press conference with us. With that, like, y'all best not ask me the wrong questions.
Yes, sir.
Ask me the wrong questions. See what happens.
Yep.
Can you imagine his face?
Yep.
His face is mean on a good day. His face is mean on Christmas morning. And you imagine that dude back in Boston about to feel the wrath, the booze, and he looking at us like, okay, what y'all got?
That is a dangerous game. You feel good when the Celtics play pretty much any team that's at or around 500 at home. Would you be surprised if Celtics' first home loss comes to Houston?
I'd be surprised, yeah.
I would not.
They take them lightly.
I don't think so. I think if
Houston won. Houston's a bad road team.
They are.
They're a bad road team. They're good at home. They're bad on the road. To me, yeah, I would be stunned because I just don't think Houston has a chop yet to pull off that kind of win. The Rockets are 3-11 away from Houston. They've had a home-heavy schedule. They've had 21 home games, 14 road games. They literally are 3-11 away from Houston. Come on, man. Like, for them to literally come in and beat in the winning streak, no, I don't see it. They don't have the chops yet. And I know they got guys like Van Vliet, and they got a couple of veterans. Jeff Green is there. And I like Jaylen Green, and I like Jabari Smith and Sengun, the Turkish kid, the big man, the player. I think he's player of the week.
Yeah.
He's a real prospect. He's a real find there. Great draft pick. But no, I just don't see it, Sherrod. Like, I just don't think they have the chops yet to come in and literally win on the road at Boston. I mean, I'm looking at their road wins real quickly. Let me see here. They won at New Orleans. And where are the three here? At Memphis, before Ja, and at Denver. Okay. At Denver is impressive, right? But no.
That was early in the season, I think.
Yeah, they lost in December.
Yeah.
On the road, they lost at Miami. But I don't know if Jimmy Butler played in that game. I don't think he did. They lost at Milwaukee. They lost at Cleveland, at LA, at Denver the second time, at Dallas, at the Clippers, at LA again. They lost at Golden State. I think they'll be competitive, but I just don't see them coming in into the street.
Okay. Well, we shall see. We shall see. That wraps up another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, and just give one more shout out to Indeed.com, HelloFresh, and FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of CLNS Media Network, where new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. So again, for Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, and our load management absentee, 28 Lunas, this is the Big Three NBA podcast. Thanks.